Hello, I'm Ed Knighton, and I'm your host for this segment of Our Ventura. And we are here with Mr. George ALGER from Skyworks Marketing.
And WordPress is it's a very popular software, a very popular platform in the world today for, for the use of websites.
Mm-hmm. Now, two questions. When you say a platform, what should come to mind when we think of a platform for a website?
Oil derricks, because everyone should be building websites on oil derricks because you get all this fresh ocean air and you've got the oil to lubricate the machinery of the website. Actually,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, all websites come from oil platforms. Actually, the term platform does refer to the fact that you can build a lot of other applications, or let's just say programs that do other things on top of or in conjunction with the website. So for instance, with WordPress as well as other websites, you like to be able to connect it to social networks, right? So for instance, connect it to Facebook, connect it to YouTube, connect it to LinkedIn, and of course there's many social networks in the world. And you can very readily do that with WordPress. And hence, so WordPress is a platform that you can plug in other types of software that allow you to, to get more out of your website. For instance, let's just take another example, a very practical one. If you sell stuff, like an artist wants to sell paintings or, sell sculptures, whatever the case might be, or nonprofits want to take in donations or sell tickets to events. How do you get money? All right, so there's different ways that you can get money. There's different software or different...
Like a shopping cart? Would that be adding onto the platform?
That's exactly right.
Oh.
So in this case, when you're referring to a shopping cart, it's software. It's software that is analogous to a shopping cart that you're going to push down a grocery aisle. But in this case, instead of putting milk and bread in your shopping cart, you're picking out, pieces of art or stuff you would be buying if it's, from any business site. As a matter of fact, anytime you've purchased anything online from a website, in most of the cases, there are some examples where you don't need a shopping cart, but in most cases, that's an electronic shopping cart in the background, which is allowing a buyer to to purchase something with a credit card.
I see. And you're saying WordPress is a platform that allows you to add more platforms to the website?
It'd be more correct to say to add applications to it that allow things to be done. Now, you're asking some excellent questions, but I want to make sure I draw a distinction between two different types of WordPress right at the beginning, because there is an opportunity for some confusion. WordPress is free.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. But there's two versions of it. They're both free.
They're both free.
They're both free. But there is still something that one needs to be aware of. If one goes to WordPress.com, you can have a website set up in, I think they say 30 seconds, but it's very quickly. You put in your email, you put in your name, and basically you have a little space that you can now create a website in. Now actually you can spend many hours customizing it to make it the way you want, but you do have a website that you could start posting information to very quickly. And it's free, completely. The software is free, and then where that software is actually hosted or where it's located is free as well. Now let me call your attention to a different WordPress. It comes from the same company, but it's called WordPress.org. So there's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. With WordPress.org, you can download the software. It's free. But where you place it, where it exists, where it's hosted, it's not free. You have to get some other company to host it. Basically, it's it's computers.
Okay.
All right, so computers are going to store that software and the information that you put on it, you know, pictures, text, videos, e-commerce, it's going to store that, you know, a shopping cart. It's going to store that on a computer somewhere, and then people can access it via the internet. So a distinction has to be made here between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. Although the software in both cases is free, on WordPress.com you have the hosting for free. On WordPress.org you don't have the hosting for free. You need to get someone to host it. So
why would you want to get somebody to host it if you have hosting right there?
Bingo. That is a good question. Now, if the hosting is free and the software is free, that's kind of convenient and it's really simple to set up. And on the WordPress.org, where you have to download the software and install it and pay for the hosting, it's also more work. So that makes the difference even more significant.
Right, more work and you have to pay.
But there's an important reason why people would want to make that choice, and it's because if we were to use a, well, let's use my name, all right? So my name, GeorgeAlger.com, all right? So I have a website, GeorgeAlger.com, that's built on WordPress.org software. And that is my website name, GeorgeAlger.com. But over here, if I use WordPress.com, the website name would be GeorgeAlger.wordpress.com. So it's a longer website name. And by having WordPress.com on it, it's really an advertisement for WordPress. So it's not as professional. It's more professional just have your own website name, GeorgeAlger.com, as opposed to GeorgeAlger.wordpress.com.
Right, right. So we want to eliminate the word WordPress from your own personal website. Makes sense, makes sense.
But it's easy, you know, so if you're willing to have that name in your website,
I understand.
It is really easy. But a professional presence would be better represented by downloading it, having it installed somewhere, and then bingo, you have it's a website that is totally your own.
Now, would you happen to know the history of the company name WordPress? Because it makes me think of the ancient WordPress, and I wasn't sure if they were bringing it back or why they use it because it makes websites, or where's that? Why do they use that word, WordPress?
I think it's from one of those guys on the oil platform. Actually, I can't say I know where the name WordPress came from. I do know some of the history because it started out as a guy trying to come up with an easier way to publish, what he wanted to write online. It wasn't even planned on being a sophisticated platform for websites. It was just a quick way to get communications up, you know. So it was, in the earlier years, it was primarily known as a blogging platform. Now, a blog, which stands for weblog, is traditionally just been a way that a person can just get up information on a website very quickly and very simply. And you know, some people used to say, well, it's like a diary online. And that's true. You know, every day you could type something, or whenever you type something, you hit publish, there it is. The simplicity was the key to its growth. Like, wow, all right, this is, anyone can use it. And also, if you have a group of people, a nonprofit, or you know, a group of artists, or any business for that matter, but you have a group of people who are writing things, it's very easy to train anyone because it's just like working in, for instance, Word, by the way, from Microsoft. I mean, it's just heck, if you know how to type, if you know how to make things bold and make things italic, you can publish a document or an article. You know, you can put up your own information.
Right there on your website.
Yeah, just as fast as you can type it and hit publish, boom. So it was throughout the early 2000s through, you know, the mid, 2005, 2006, 2007. I mean, it's just this explosive growth for WordPress, and it really expanded well beyond just being a blogging platform. Now it's a full, to get technical, CMS or content management system, which just means it's a more sophisticated website that's also easy to use. All right, so instead of having to know about coding, the language behind websites, you just really need to know how to write. How do you write what it is you're trying to communicate?
It's all done that you don't need to know the coding.
No, you do not. That's the magic of it. You don't need to know the coding. So really anyone can publish information very readily online through CMSs or through blogging platforms. And it's just so much easier than it used to be back in the old days, like the 90s, okay?
Technology moves rapidly. I wanted to ask you, and forgive me for the simplicity of this question, but just tell our viewers, why would an artist or a nonprofit want to have a website?
Well, I mean, whether it's a nonprofit or an artist or a business or an individual, it's really just a matter of how do you want to represent yourself in a way that many people or anybody can find out more information. And now, I mean, of course, for years now, the internet is the go-to place to learn anything. In the 90s, it was, the idea of do you have a website was pretty important, all right? Because so many people, didn't yet. But by the end of the 90s, websites were, were so pervasive that there were very few entities that did not. And then blogging became very, very popular because it really showed sort of an up-to-date. It provided an up-to-date experience of what might be going on with an artist, a nonprofit, or any business. You could have started a website 10 years ago and it never changed. And therefore, a person's looking at this and thinking, is this really relevant information anymore? But at least with a blog, you can see, here's this person just posted something today. Or they just posted something last week. So you know that the information is still being kept current and relevant. So that also serves to benefit the user and the user and the publisher in a couple of different ways, because search engines, they prefer new content.
Of course. So would you say that artists or nonprofit would blog on their website, or would you recommend that they have a website and definitely blog, or could they have a website and not blog? What would be your recommendation?
Well, it's to the advantage of the artist or the nonprofit or whoever has the website to blog, because search engines will promote that more than a competing website that doesn't, all right, just because it has more current and the more current information is just a signal to search engines, that this is perhaps more relevant. So I would encourage someone to do so, but it's up to them. They don't have to. I mean, they could simply put up a site today and not change it for 10 years.
I see.
So.
George, I thank you for stopping by today. I know technology is an expansive field. We've covered quite a bit. But if anyone has any questions about websites or WordPress, where may they contact you? Sure. I would recommend they just go to my website, skyworksmarketing.com, which is it's a digital advertising agency. So it includes not only a lot of information about WordPress and blogging and websites and e-commerce and quite a lot more, but there's a contact button on it as well. So a person could just click contact and shoot me a message. And I'm always answering people's questions, so it's totally fine for anyone to shoot me a message. Great. Well, thank you for the information, for stopping by today. Cool. I'm Ed Knighton, and that's all for this segment of Our Ventura. Thank you very much for tuning in.